Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, everybody. It is so good to see such a great crowd here. So many different people I've met before, people I haven't met before, from various types of organizations. My name is Donna Cutting. I'll tell you more about myself in just a few minutes. It's good to see people's faces too. Yes, welcome. Okay, so we're gonna jump right in with a little interactive activity. And the way I like to do that is just have you put your answers in chat. So while we're allowing people to come in, while we're admitting them as they arrive for the event, I want to have you ask yourself and answer magic question number one. And magic question number one is, how do you want your new hires to feel after their orientation to your company? And even during, so like during their employee orientation, after your employee orientation, how is it that you want them to feel? And I'm already seeing some responses. This is great. Oh my gosh, welcome and happy to start their new adventure. That is great, Jenny. Rachel, hi, welcome, appreciated, at home, nice. Warren, I love this, like they hit the jackpot in the lottery. Tracy, welcomed, comfortable and happy they've joined us. Relaxed, love it. Kelly, Cecilia, like they made the right choice. Exactly, like you made the right choice and they made the right choice. Lindsay, appreciated, very good. Linda, valued and part of the team. Sophia, I want them to feel welcome and part of the team. Yes, and excited about joining the team that we have prepared for them. Jessica, welcome, a sense of belonging. Very good. Welcome and excited, Renee. April, look at this engagement. This is so great. I may not be able to read everybody's, but you can see them in the chat. Hi there, Joey, welcome, part of the team, that they're welcome, like they're part of a big happy family, excited, ready to meet their team and our residents. Wonderful. Those are some great emotions. And so now I want you to answer. You can do this in the chat or you can just do it to yourself, whatever feels comfortable to you. But the magic question number two is, does your current employee orientation consistently produce those feelings? So you just told me all of the things that you want your new hires to feel. Is the way you're currently delivering your employee orientation likely to produce those feelings on a consistent basis? And Mary Beth is responding with a big nope. Well, good. That's good. Unfortunately, no, but we're working on enhancing it. Not particularly. Yes. Oh, that's good. Yes, because of some changes. Probably not. Yes, about 75% of the time, and improving it. That's why maybe you're here, is to improve it. I wish it did, but hopefully we will get there. Well, you are absolutely in the right place. Very good. And even if you're saying yes, you're in the right place, because that means you want to take it to another level, that you're always looking for new ideas. So this is what we're going to focus on today. Today, I have for you some results from actual organizations, 2 organizations who have taken their employee orientation to a whole other level and are getting actual specific results because of the work that they have done. So we're going to share that. I'm going to share the 3 areas of improvement that they made that made a huge difference. So we're going to walk through that. Again, as you can see, this is already going to be very interactive. We're going to talk through it a little bit. I'm going to share with you at the end, I'm going to share with you the step-by-step process that was used to develop that new orientation. And I'm going to give you a tip on how you can actually hear from the implementers of those 2 orientations themselves, because it's one thing hearing it from the consultant, it's another thing hearing it from the people who are actually out there doing it and implementing it. So there is a way that you can hear from them, and I'm going to share that with you today. So before I go any further, for those of you who may not know me, my name is Donna Cutting. I am the founder and CEO of Red Carpet Learning. We're a learning and development company that focuses on organizational culture, employee experience, and customer service. I'm also the creator of the Red Carpet Culture Club, and I'm the author of 3 books. So the first 2 books were focused on red carpet customer service for traditional customers, and then my latest book is Employees First, focusing on your internal customers, inspire, engage, and focus on the heart of your organization. And just a little tip, I have no control over this. Amazon does whatever Amazon wants to do. But they did take a I forget what the book is, like $24.99 or something like that. I also don't set the price. And they are now doing a special, like a limited time special for $16.99. So if you don't have the book and you're interested in it, now would be the time to go to Amazon to get it. A little bit cheaper. So the other person I want to just introduce to you really just quickly, she's in the background, kind of letting all of you in and handling the details, is our director of details, and her name is Kathy Thomas. She's waving. You want to unmute yourself and just say hi, Kathy, so they can see you.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. I think you're going to really enjoy this time you have with Donna.
Thank you. Thanks, Kathy. So glad you're here, and I'm so appreciative. Okay, so let's get right into those results. So I have 2 different companies that I'm going to use as case studies. The first one is a pharmacy. They're a long-term care pharmacy. The problem that they were having, like many of us, so this was not unique, I'm sure you know, this was not unique to this pharmacy, is that they were having significant turnover, especially in the first week to 90 days. So like that was happening. Then they implemented a new orientation. So to give you an idea, I did not create their orientation for them. The only thing I did was act as an advisor, and my team and I developed one little piece of their orientation. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But they hired somebody on their team to be in charge of employee orientation. And she used the exact process that I am going to share with you at the end of this webinar. She also did every single thing that we're going to talk about, those 3 areas of improvement. They rolled this out, I think now it's been about 4 or 5 months. The last I heard, they had hired in the first 3 months of rolling out that orientation, they hired 70 people in the first 3 months, and they retained all but 3 of them, which was a significant improvement. And the major thing that they changed was their employee orientation. Now, I also want to mention in this particular case, they are using employee orientation also as an extension of the screening process. So in the very first one that they rolled out, there was somebody who was, checking her phone, showing up late, behaving in ways that they knew were not a fit for their culture. So one of those 3 people was actually let go in the middle of orientation. They used that as part of an extension of their screening process. And we looked at that as a win, because you don't want to bring people on and invest all that time, all that money, and then have them not work out anyway, right? And so I do not know the specific numbers. However, I will tell you that in the Red Carpet Culture Club, which how many of you right now are singing karma chameleon right now, right? Every time I say that, karma, 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 karma. Anyway, I spoke with two of the people at that pharmacy yesterday in our Red Carpet Culture Club, and they said they didn't have the specific numbers right now, but I said, is this still helping with your employee retention? And they said, absolutely, hands down, yes. There has been a significant change in employee retention. The second organization is a senior living company. So they had the same problem. They had significant turnover from the first day, the first 90 days, and then beyond. And particularly in this organization, one of their locations had people that in the middle of what they were calling orientation at that time, people would leave at lunch. So they'd come in, they would do, you know, whatever they were doing at that point for their orientation, and then they'd come back. If they had 5 or 6 people, they'd come back and there were only 4 people in the room, right? So they were actually leaving in the middle of the orientation. That's not happening anymore. So every senior living community in this company that I spoke with, so we had a wrap up recently where we were sort of connecting on results. Not all of them were there, but all of the ones that were there, 5 or 6 of them, they all are seeing increases in employee retention, especially in that first 90 days. And one of those communities, I actually was able to do the math, and they increased by 65%. So they were losing like 8 to 10 people a month, and that went from 8 to 10 people a month to about 3 people, an average of 3 people a month. So by 65%, that's incredible. And one of the things that's interesting is that when I first started working with them, and the other and the pharmacy as well, the pharmacy, we acted as advisors. The senior living company, we created the whole thing with them. I don't want to say for them, but we created it with them. And I kept saying, you know, our goal is employee retention, right? But this is only one piece of the puzzle. So if it's not happening, then we have to look at other pieces of the puzzle and why are you still losing employees? But in both cases, we have seen significant improvements in terms of retention. So that made me feel like, oh, I want to tell other people. I really do, because now I feel 100% confident that taking your employee orientation from wherever it is now to another level is going to help you with that employee retention. So in both cases, besides retention, we had more engagement and positive feedback. So again, nobody's leaving at lunch anymore, right? There was definitely more engagement, definitely positive feedback. And in addition, in both cases, departmental managers are stepping up on their onboarding processes, or their onboarding efforts. So they are now doing things. They've been so inspired by what the leaders, what we call ambassadors of these orientation programs are doing, that they have now been inspired to step up their onboarding efforts. So now those examples are a long-term care pharmacy and a senior living. But what I want to say is that the principles we are going to share today are exactly the principles that will work regardless of your field, regardless of your organization. So if you're in dentistry, technology, government, pharmacy, staffing agency, education, arts organization, medical offices, barbecue restaurant, woohoo, Luella's, children's nonprofit, moving company, college hunks, I know you're out there. I'm so excited to see you. Performing arts centers, NASCAR, steel organization, food service, resort, hotel, community college, rental communities. These are all representative of the organizations that are on this call today, and the principles, yeah, woohoo hunk, somebody said, I love it. The principles that we are going to talk about today work for everyone. So we're kind of in the healthcare segment there, or section for the case studies that we're sharing, but the principles are universal. So let's get to what those are. So the other thing I want to talk about is, as we walk into these principles, I want you to think of your employees as customers. So this is another conversation I was having in our Red Carpet Culture Club with a member who was saying, she's like, oh, I don't know why we didn't think of this before. She said, we are really, really great at welcoming our customers. And until just recently, we were not really great at welcoming our employees. So she said, like, our customers, we would greet them at the door. We weren't doing that. We would give them like an idea of what to expect. We were not doing that. We were taking care of physiological needs. We were not doing that. She said, just because I don't eat lunch every single day or make sure I'm fully hydrated doesn't mean that we don't need to pay attention to those kinds of things for our employees. So that is a major shift that I think organizations today, if you want to compete for top talent for employees in this marketplace, is that you have got to start thinking about them as customers. And so the whole idea of, one of the things that I have seen, right, over the last year with the Great Resignation and quiet quitting and all of those things that the media has cutesy names for, that people have been so nervous and so seriously short-staffed, needing to hire more people. And so the mentality has been, let's get them in, just grab as many people as we can and get them out on the floor right away. And that's shooting yourself in the foot. We have got to go back to really, again, thinking about the fact that just putting people out there, out on the floor, out in the working, your work life, without fully preparing them, without getting them ready, that is not anything that you would ever do to one of your customers, right? So we've got to start thinking about people as customers. So let's talk about the 3 areas that we improved. Number 1, we made the orientation in both instances longer. There was pushback, definitely, because, I don't have time for them to be off the floor. As soon as we hire them, we've got to get them to work. There was pushback, but now I think people are seeing the light because they're keeping them longer, right? We made it longer. We made it more effective. We're going to talk about how we did that, and we made it more fun. So those are the 3 areas we improved. Let's talk about that a little bit now. So let me just ask you, put in the chat, how long do you think an employee orientation should be? Now, let me just back up. I'm going to define something for you. Employee onboarding is a long-term process, right? That could be 6 months to a year. That's the time that it takes for somebody to feel comfortable, integrated, connected, really learn their job, all of those things. What we're talking about here today is one little piece of that entire onboarding process, and that is the event, the employee orientation. So let's see, what, 2 days? Somebody's saying, great. Ashina, hi there. Kelsey, 1 day or 2 half days for orientation. Nice. Hi, Kelsey. Rachel, it's so good to see all my friends. Minimum 1 full day. I'm at 1.5 days now. We've had 5 days in the past. Great. 3 days, 3 to 4 days, 1 to 2 days, 2 days. It depends, Mary Beth. Ding, ding, ding. A day absolute minimum, but better 1.5 days to 2 days. Can depend on how much information you need. Ding, 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 ding. Yes, 3 days, 1 day. Okay, everybody has, I think 2 half days is best, but currently only getting an hour. Oh, that's really hard, right? That's very, very hard. Okay. Hi, Uchenna. Hi, 1.5 weeks. I love it. Catherine, one full day. 2 days, Arlene. Beautiful. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing. And here is my response. Well, first, actually, before, let me just ask you, I think I'm going to launch a poll. Let me see if I can do that. I'm going to ask you how long your current orientation. You know what? I have the poll, but I forgot about how to get back into Zoom to launch it. And I forgot to tell Kathy about it. So why don't we just do this in the chat? Oh, here it is. Kathy, you're on it. Look at that. So there is the poll. Here are the questions. How long is your current employee orientation? Whatever that is, right? Even if it's just you're filling out paperwork, right? If that's what your orientation is. Okay, so I'm seeing we barely have one. Is it up to 1 day, 2 to 3 days, 1 week, longer than 1 week? Oh, this is good. Wow. Very good. I'm actually surprised. I'd be interested to hear more from those people who are saying longer than 1 week. That's fantastic. Okay, and I'm going to end the poll in about, oh, thank you, Cassie. All right. And so here are the results. Let's see. Can you see? Somebody give me a thumbs up or just put in the chat. Are you able to see those results? Let's see. Kelsey saying, see it. Yes, Uchenna. Thank you. Okay, so we have about 9% of people saying we barely have one. That's really good. I think that, I mean, it's not good that you barely have one, but I think it's good that it's only 9%. And then we have up to 1 day, about 44%, 2 to 3 days, 28%, 1 week, 9%, and longer than 1 week, 9%. Okay, good. This gives me a great idea of what what everybody is doing currently. So here's my response, and I think I heard somebody say that. I'm going to actually stop the share for a minute. I heard somebody, or I watched somebody say this in the chat, and that is that it depends. It depends on what it is, what are the educational things and the experiential things that people need to know in order to be effectively prepared to really work in your organization. So let me give you some examples of that. Number one, and I think this is my next slide, but I'm just going to say it for you. I'll show it to you later. Number one is there are 4 C's. I'd like to call them the 4 C's of employee orientation. So 4 things that you really want to make sure that you're including in your organization, okay, in your orientation. So number 1 is culture. Like, you want to immerse people into your culture. And we're going to talk about what that means to immerse people into your culture, not just tell them about your culture, but really immerse them in your culture. The next is connection. You want to connect individuals. You want to connect them to their coworkers, to your customers. So that takes time to do that. Communication. So some of that is like communicating what are some of the things that they need to know, the little things they need to know, like where's the time clock, how did they have lunch, where do they park, all of those things, but also specific things that they may need to know to do their job. And I'm going to give you some examples in just a minute. And then of course there's compliance, right? All of those compliance activities that some governing body may feel like you need to have this box checked before they can start out on the floor. Okay, so those are the 4 C's: culture, connection, communication, and compliance. So I want you to think for a moment about what are some of the things that in your organization, in your field, right, your industry, what are some of the things that it would be really helpful for people to know about and to have experience, not just know about, but to have experienced before they start the job? So let me give you some examples. At the pharmacy, there were a couple of things. First of all, the organizational culture. Let's just start there. The history of the organization, the culture, service standards. but also their core product and service are meds, and their core service is delivering those meds, those medications to the people who need them, right? So there are times when they're in the process of doing that where everybody, it doesn't matter what your job is, everybody is helping to get those medications out the door. So one of the things that they have to, that everyone needs to know is how to fill what they call these bingo packs. So they're like the little packs that the medications come in, and there's a special way to fill them. The other thing, and forgive me, I know I have a pharmacy on here today and I'm not gonna say this right, but there's like a refrigerator or something that's like a refrigerator where at all the different locations, long-term care locations, that's where the medication is stored. It's secure, like only the nurses can get in, that kind of thing. Everybody, because that's their core product, everybody needs to understand what that is, how it works, because even if you're on the phone in customer service, you've got to be able to talk about that intelligently. So what used to happen was both of those things were handled during on-the-job skills training, except that they weren't, because they were getting so busy and they were having the issue with being short-staffed, that people were just kind of being thrown out on the floor and they weren't really properly trained on all of these things. So what they did was they took those two things and other things and they put them into orientation, and they gave it enough time for them to learn how to, what it's all about and how to do those things, and they experienced it. So in the senior living example, there's a couple of things that come to mind. Number one, in addition to their organizational culture, service standards, policies, procedures, all of those things, they hire a lot of young people. They're working with older people. They're going to deal with losses. They're going to fall in love with these older people, and then they may pass away. And these are younger people, many of them, who have never had that experience. So what about preparing them for that, to how do you deal with the losses? And certainly in that field, during COVID, we saw many more losses than we had in the past. And then the other thing is that regardless, if you are resident facing in that field, senior living, regardless of whether you work in the dining room or you are a housekeeper or whatever, you are going to interact with people who have dementia, right? Whether they're in independent living or in memory care or anywhere in between, at some point, you're going to interact with those people, and you need to know how to do that effectively, compassionately, caring. And so that was something that they have a whole special training for that, mainly focused on nursing, but we wanted everyone to learn it, not just hear about it, but to actually practice the skills that they were going to need to interact with people with dementia. So I wanted to stop my share because I want to ask you, I want you to think about, we have so many different people. We have senior living, medical for sure, but also barbecue and NASCAR and like all these different types of organizations. So put in the chat, like if you could think of one or two things that everyone in your organization needs to really know how to do, or they really have to experience this to understand your organization, what would those things be? What would some of those things be? I'm going to watch for you. Let's see. Yes, I love, conflict resolution, Ashina. Yes. Empathetic communication, our core values. Yes. And we're going to talk about that. Collaborating. Yes. Excellent. What else? What understanding a culture of hospitality. Very good. And what that means. Excellent. What else? Diversity. Yep. Listening and caring. Emotional intelligence. Yes. Yes. Hi, Jeanette. It's so good to see everyone's names. Patience. Oh, it's going so fast. Diversity, core values, mission statements, customer service, diversity, work-life balance. I love that. How to take ownership of your own work-life balance. I think that's really, really important. Very good. And even think about like some of the skills. Like there's a service I used to use called Ruby Receptionist, call Ruby. And it didn't matter what anyone's job was, even if they weren't a receptionist, they needed to know how to use the phone system. Everyone, they could be the bookkeeper in the back, but because it was their core service, that was something that they wanted everyone to at least have experience. Right. So be thinking about this as we go along, and I'm going to go back and share my screen. There we go. So the answer to the question is, how long will it take to effectively immerse people into those experiences and educational sessions? That is how long your orientation should be. In the case of the senior living organization, we chose 3 days. So, and this was big, like they were doing a half day, what they called orientation, but was mostly paperwork, right? It was mostly compliance and paperwork. And they went from a half day to 3 days. There were a lot of discussions around this, but we made our case, not just myself, but the vice president of HR that I was working with made the case for why this was important. And as you can see, they're already having those results. In the case of the pharmacy, one of the things I didn't mention was their orientation is hybrid, because they have people who work at the location, but then they also have remote employees. So they chose to do a 2.5 day hybrid orientation. And I believe, I'm not sure, I'm trying to think of what they did in terms of like the med packs and stuff like that. Probably the people who are remote will never have to do that, but the people on the floor actually do. So that's how long it should be. The first thing isn't, oh, we want to have a week, or we want to have 2 days, or we can only do 1 day tops. That we're going about that backwards. The way to think about it is, what do they really need to know? Like, what's going to prepare them so that they can know more about the organization, know more about your core services, and have the preparation they need before they go on into their on-the-job skills training. And that's how you determine how long your orientation should be. Okay, the second improvement we made is that we made it more effective. So how do you do that? Well, let's just take core values for a minute. So I actually looked at everybody's website, if I could find them. Sometimes your email has something that doesn't take me to the website, but if I could find your website, I visited your website. These are some of the core values that I saw. I love them. Student success, listen, fulfill, and delight. Love it. Customer focus, stewardship, collaboration, opportunity, spirituality, all of those things. There is a difference between having a PowerPoint slide and talking about your core values and really immersing people into your core values. So there's an organization, another senior living organization here in North Carolina, and they have a new CEO. So I don't think this is happening anymore, but the former CEO, their mission was something along the lines of, we are great people who make great days for one another. And their former CEO would take all their new hires on the bus to the cemetery, and they would all pile out, stand among the headstones. And he would say, I bet you're wondering what we're doing at the cemetery. And they would say, yeah. And he'd say, well, in our business, well, no, he'd ask them, like, if you knew if it was somebody's last day on earth, what would you do for them? How would you make it a great day for them? And they would share ideas like, oh, I would listen to their stories. I would, if they had a dream, I'd try and make it come true. I'd be careful with their family, like make sure their family had everything that they needed. I would just spend time with them. I'd get their favorite meal, whatever it is. And he said, that's great. In our business, we never know when it's going to be somebody's last day. So we want to make great days for people every single day. So I want you to think about the difference between that experience and a PowerPoint slide where somebody says, our core values are diversity and equity, customer focus, collaboration, spirituality, faith. Like it's a completely different thing. Tell me if the immersive experience versus the PowerPoint, which one do you think is most effective? Go ahead and put that in the chat. And I'm gonna go here while you're doing that. So immersive experience, immersive, definitely. Immersive, yep, absolutely. But so often, yes, immersive, absolutely, yes, excellent. So often what happens is that we get so busy, or the people who are creating, the experience for new hires get so busy that we just think of training as, I'm going to put together a PowerPoint and I'm going to narrate that PowerPoint and then they'll be trained, right? But that is not an effective experience. That's not effective learning and development. So when I say, how long does it take? How long does it take to be effective? So making it more interactive, practicing skills. So thinking about, like in the senior living example, where they really needed to know how to interact with people who have dementia and Alzheimer's disease. We didn't just tell them, but we actually put them through scenarios that they were going to deal with every single day, regardless of their role. And we helped talk them through those scenarios and give them the language, give them the words. They practiced their skills in pairs and groups, so they really felt more prepared to go out and have those interactions than they were in the past. So walking people through scenarios, pair discussions, group discussions. We involved coworkers and customers and a hands-on adventure. So let me, I'm gonna go back and I'm going to stop my share for just a moment. And I'm going to show you. So in the case of the senior living organization, we actually did create this for them. So we created their ambassador guide, which is basically their facilitator guide. And I just thought I'd walk through and I'll kind of give you some examples of how we made this different. So, okay, so for instance, we taught one of their core values, or one of their service principles, was engaging in activities and conversations that were meaningful to their customers. So we gave them a little activity around conversation starters. And then the next day, we actually sent them out to have conversations with the residents using those conversation starters. So again, it was immersive. They were practicing their skills. We had dress code, right? So in terms of policies and procedures, we didn't just tell them the dress code. We had them make posters of, this is, say yes to the dress for success, and not so much, right? And so they had to make two different kinds of posters to demonstrate in a fun way that they actually understood the dress code. We took policies and procedures and we made it more interactive. We gave them all the policies and procedures, and they had to come up with 2 truths and a lie about every policy and every procedure. On day 2, they had a hands-on adventure. So I just want to mention that this is actually something that you could do if you had one person or 2 people that you were orienting, is just really structure the day or structure the week. What kind of adventures could you send them on? So in this case, they actually went back to their community, and there was a very structured hands-on adventure where they spent time in every single department, leading activities, serving in the dining room, regardless of what their role was. So many things. We did the dementia session I already talked about. We had their, and then we did reviews. So there's different adult learning principles so that they're constantly reviewing what they learned, right? This right here took 3 days to do this. It's not just a PowerPoint. We made it more effective. So the last little area of improvement, I'm going to go back. is that we made it more fun. And how do you make it more fun? So you will know. So again, like all the activities, the pair shares, the group, just that alone makes it more fun. But we are really big in. Let me see if I can. Yeah, this is. Let me show you. Oops, let me back up. So that is how people enter the room when they come into it. I'm not sure in the pharmacy, but when they actually come into the senior living, they're entering with a red carpet, they're entering with applause. We are big on decorating the room. Like that people should walk in and understand this is not going to be the same experience that you've had in other organizations and other companies. Now, you may, if you're like the company that works in steel and maybe you have a majority of your employees are men, like the same things that we're talking about fun in the healthcare space may not work for you. But what is fun? And by the way, I want to say I've actually spoke for a beer distributing company one time that was mostly men, and they loved all the fun stuff too. They loved the props, the candy, all of that. So really thinking about like, how do we take this up to a whole other level? So I wanted to share a couple of other things with you. Again, at the end, I'm going to walk you through the steps that we took to help both organizations go through, whether they were doing it themselves or they were doing it with us. The steps were absolutely the same for you. But I want to mention that yesterday in our Red Carpet Culture Club, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about the club, just so you know. In our Red Carpet Culture Club, we had two of the people from the pharmacy in a session that we call What's Working. So once every other month, we get together with our members and we ask them to bring one thing that they are doing in their organization that's actually getting results. It's such a great session because people, again, they're not just saying we're hoping this will get results. These are getting solid retention, recruitment, customer service, engagement, morale, all of those sales results. And we had two of the people from the pharmacy. They told me, yes, like absolutely, we're still seeing retention. And they just mentioned a couple of the little things that they do. So I thought I would share that with you. And those things were that they're sending all of their new hires postcards. They have special postcards that they made printed up. The people in the department actually sign those postcards, so they get those in the mail before they come in for orientation. And they said the response has been amazing. People have been coming in and saying, you know what, like I came in, it was such a nice touch. It made me feel so welcome, so warm, all those emotions you were talking about in the beginning. And I was able to take the names on my postcards and then put faces to them, and it gave me something to talk about. So we were making those connections. And then they also told me about a program they were doing called Lunch Buddies. So they actually assign somebody or they pair somebody up to be a lunch buddy with every new hire. So they have lunch with them on their first day. But in addition to lunch, the lunch buddy will actually take them to their area of work, kind of show them around, show them what they do, even if it's not what they necessarily are going to be doing. But again, it's that other point of connection, learning a little bit more. And it's just been incredible. So let me just tell you, I'm going to stop for a moment. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the Red Carpet Culture Club. I know I've been mentioning it a little bit because one of the things I said to you was I was going to tell you how you could hear right from the horse's mouths, right from the people who are rolling out these orientations. And the way to do that is actually to become a member of the Red Carpet Culture Club. So I'll explain that in just a moment. I want you to think for a moment about like how if you took all of the leaders of your organization and you sent them to a conference with speakers, where they could get learning and development, like the amount that would cost. And then if you could train to all your staff, right? The amount that that would cost, because you're talking about the cost of the conference and travel and hotels and all of that. And normally, people only send like 4 or 5, maybe 3 leaders to those kinds of conferences. So what we have done with the Red Carpet Culture Club is that we have provided our members with the opportunity to learn, get learning and development for your entire team, your entire leadership team, and your entire staff. I'll show you how in just a moment. At like the fraction of what it would cost to even to have me come in and speak, or to send people to conferences. We're giving our members access to world-class experts that they would not get anywhere. That they would not get anywhere else. Many people who don't have the opportunity to go to those conferences, to have those experiences. And my whole focus is that this not just be an informational customer training platform, but that this be transformational. So I'll tell you a little bit about how we do that. Here's how some of our members are actually using the Red Carpet Culture Club. So we have live virtual events. We have interviews with world-class experts. I do master classes. We have coaching, Q&A with Donna, the What's Working session that I talked to you about. What many of our members are doing are actually showing up either individually on Zoom, or they're showing up like in a boardroom. They attend the live event, and then they use that as a fodder for discussion. Like, what do we need to do differently in our organization based on what we just learned? If they can't attend the events are all on the platform. They're all recorded. They're all right there. We have online courses and resources. So our members tell us, our team needs to know more about how to lead one-on-ones with their staff. So we created a whole resource around leading one-on-ones with their staff that now people are downloading and sharing. One person told me, I download every single thing you put up there. I put it in a binder. When I have time, I read through it. I share it with my team. The information is just so good. We just did a challenge called the 7-Minute Culture Cure Challenge. Again, not informational, transformational. So we had teams of 7 people at each organization competing against each other to spend 7 minutes every single day interacting in some way. There was a whole formula around it with their team members, and they were so engaged, so excited. The winning team is really excited that they won, but everybody kind of won something. And they came back saying things like, you just made this so easy. Like, we make the whole idea of connecting with people so big, but we're making it, you made it so easy. Like, we really could do things in 7 minutes a day or less. And then the last thing is the community. So where we actually have like an online community where people share ideas with one another, but where I really see that evident is when they show up to things like What's Working, and they share ideas with one another. Not just ideas they hope will work, but ideas that are actually working to get results. So I'm gonna stop. Let me just actually get out of my PowerPoint for a minute and see if I can just very quickly. Let's see if I can open this. Hello. Okay, so Kathy, can you tell me, are you seeing, you should be seeing the Red Carpet Culture Club right now. Are you seeing that, Kathy?
Yes.
Okay, great, awesome, thank you. So I just wanted to kind of show you the platform. So like I said, we have live virtual events. So this is where this relates to orientation. I didn't put the date in. This is actually March 17th at 3:30. We're gonna do our interview with experts with the Otterbein ambassadors, who are the senior living company that I talked about. They're going to come on. I'm going to interview them about their experience related to their orientation, how they rolled it out, the results that they're seeing, all the different things that they're learning. So all of our members are going to have access to that interview, not only live, but also it'll be recorded. It'll live on the platform. But you can see we have all these, as you can see, all of these things are, all of the events are actually recorded. They're on the platform. These people right here, world-class experts. Like, I have access to people who are doing this, for my members at no charge. People who normally charge, high thousands of dollars to come and speak, and you actually get access to them as a member. And then, of course, there's the what's working. So in terms of the pharmacy, in one of our what's working, and also in one of the master classes, the person, let me see, it's somewhere. I think it might be Q&A with Donna, actually. Q&A with Donna, yes, orientation. The person who actually created and led the pharmacy orientation, she talked all about it in both of those things. So you get access to that as well. These are the downloads that I talked to you about. We add to them every single day. You can download them, share them with your team members. We have an online course on Extreme Makeover, Employee Orientation Edition. We also have a course called 52 Weeks of Customer Service. And the idea behind this, so I told you, we're giving you transformational training for everyone on your team, because when you join, and I'll explain how that works, but everybody at the location gets access to this. It's not just one person, two person. Everybody who works at that particular location gets access to it. So here we're actually giving you 2-minute videos on very specific customer service topics. And then there is a download, so that the idea is you share the video 2 minutes in your staff meeting, and then there's a download that gives you an activity, discussion questions, so you can lead like a 10 or 15-minute micro customer service training session with your staff. Technically, if you wanted to, every single week for 52 weeks for the entire year. So we're not only learning and development for your leadership, but also for your staff. And then of course there's the community, and you can see, let's see if I can, hopefully you'll see this. Kathy, this is showing, right? As I change all of these things out, as I change the pages out?
Yes, it's showing.
Okay, good, thank you. So in the community, oh yeah, there's our challenge, but you can actually see how people are in here sharing with each other, adding, the things they're doing and the challenges, adding different things that are helpful to our members. Of course, now all you're seeing is me, but there we go. There's Rebecca, there's Erin, like all of these different things. So basically we're taking the ability that people who go to conferences get to learn from world-class experts, to get all of these ideas, to share with one another, to network. But there's so many people on your team that don't have that ability, and by getting them involved in the Red Carpet Culture Club, now they do. So I'm going to go back very quickly to my slide deck. And I think we have time. Yeah, so don't hear it from me. Let's see. Ah, it's not playing. Okay, well, I'm going to send you a video of one of our members and what she had to say. Here are some other things. It's been so helpful. What I learned is how easy it is in 7 minutes to make a connection. My team has been so excited and engaged. Having the other company involved took the experience to a whole new level of engagement. So like I said, if you want to hear from the people who actually did these orientations, the live virtual session is in the membership March 17th at 3:30 p.m. This is if you're interested, and Kathy, you could go ahead and put the link in the chat if you don't mind. But it's $250 monthly or $2,500 an annual membership. That's a $500 savings. Most people do the annual membership. It's per location, but I want to just say this. If this is something that interests you and you have like 40 locations, don't freak out because I actually have a cap on, what we charge for multiple locations. It gets, when you have those level of locations, per location gets smaller. So just have a conversation with me and we'll talk about it. If you have mostly remote people and you don't really have a location, we also, we work with that too. So it's worth just having a conversation with me. And then Kathy put it in the chat, but you can look it up at the redcarpetcultureclub.com. And so that brings us to getting close to the end here. I want to just ask, before I get into this process, does anybody have any questions? Just go ahead and put those in the chat. I see that I have 4 new messages. Great question. And let's see. How do you do group activities when you're hiring one person? Oh, that's a great question, Jim. Thank you. Not usually in group. So, and let me just repeat the question. How do you do group activities when you are hiring one person at a time, not usually in groups? So there's 2 different ways to handle this. Number 1 is, in both cases, the pharmacy and the senior living organization, they have been doing retraining. They either are doing it or they are planning to do reorientation of their current staff, because they've created this great experience. And of course, their current staff didn't go through this great experience. They also want to get everybody like on the same page. So when they have, in the senior living organization, they have a couple of the communities that are very small. They're maybe onboarding 1 or 2 people a month, and that's it. So instead of, shortchanging them and just doing it differently, they've started doing this as a reorientation of their entire staff, and then the new person gets inserted into that group. But the other thing is that the process is still the same. You may not be able to do group activities per se, but if you think about like the hands-on adventure that I talked about with the senior living organization, it was a very structured day. Like, we're going to do activities. You're going to lead activities. You're going to be involved in like the dining room. You're going to interview residents, interview our customers. So what you do is there's an organization called the Savannah Bananas. Say yes, banana, if you know about them. They're this great baseball team that's so focused on like entertaining the fans. It's amazing, in Savannah, Georgia. Well, they often will hire 1 or 2 people at a time. So they just take the whole week and they just get really intentional. Like, they're going to spend time in concessions, during this time. They're going to spend time in this meeting, like where we talk about throw ideas out. They're going to spend time working alongside this person. It's about being more intentional. So you may not be able to do group activities, but you can create something that is meaningful and intentional, even with just 1 person. Great question. And we have the same, because of all the pressure to get the people out on the floor. Can't wait for a group sometimes. Kelsey, I absolutely understand that. And I want to say that we had the same things come up with the other organizations. And in the end, the proof is in the pudding. Like, they were losing people. They were just shooting themselves in the foot because people were just going out the door, because you're just throwing them out there unprepared. And now that we are taking those 2.5 or 3 days to prepare them, they're actually able to keep their staff longer. So it's really, but yeah, there are a lot of internal conversations and persuasion that has to happen in order to make that happen. So, okay, here's the process. Number 1 is discover. So we actually go in, I did this in both cases, especially interview people who have been through the orientation onboarding in the last like 90 days to 6 months. What was that like? How did it feel like? What do you think could be improved? Really getting the ideas of the entire management team together. And then once you have a framework, you know what needs to be included and how long it's going to take, then develop the materials. So in our case, with the senior living, we developed video, we developed these ambassador guides, the participant playbooks as well. But just take the time to actually develop whatever it is, even if it's one-on-one, like what's the agenda. You've got to figure out how it's all going to work and who the people are involved, and that takes some time, but it's worth it. Don't just throw a PowerPoint presentation together. Then deliver. So in the case of the pharmacy, we had somebody who was responsible for delivering that. In the case of the senior living, we actually did a train the trainer with what we called ambassadors. So they had like a whole group of people who are now out there delivering this orientation, kind of doing it partners or taking turns. And then you start the process. You just like do it once, you do it again, it gets better, you tweak it as you go along. And that's drive. So once you start, you get better. You learn from experience, you get better. And then the next step is deepen. So deepen is, now that we have this great orientation, how are we going to make the rest of the onboarding better? We had one director of nursing who now took her training and gamified it so that it was so much more fun, so much more effective. Again, that wasn't part of orientation, it was on the job training. But because she was inspired by what was happening in the orientation, she just made it even better. So that is the process. It can work whether we're helping you with it or whether you are doing it on your own. It is exactly the same process. So I want to end with just a couple of stories. So one, this is one of the people at the senior living organization. She was a DON. We were training her to be an ambassador. She had been there for 6 months, and after going through the 3-day train the trainer program, she said to me, Donna, I've been in this organization for 6 months, and I learned more in the last 3 days than I have in the last 6 months. Like, that is what you want to hear. I mean, it's not what you want to hear, but you want something that is so well put together, so gives them such preparation that people feel like, wow, I'm part of this company and I am so excited and I cannot wait to go out and do what we do. And then the last story I wanted to share with you was of a couple of people I talked to recently that were really doing such a great job with their orientation and their on-the-job skills training. And these were departments that normally were, we just got to get them out on the floor. And these particular leaders were thinking differently. And I asked them, why do you think differently than everybody else in your position? And in both cases, it was because they had had experiences as employees where they were just thrown out on the floor, and it was so traumatic for them that they promised themselves they were never going to do that for anybody. So I want you to go back to the idea of thinking of treating your employees as customers, because this is not, it's just not kind. Like, just putting people out on the floor without full preparation, without a strong welcome, without all of those things, it's not just more effective to do it the better way, the longer way, the more fun way, but it's also kinder. It's how we treat people the way we want them to treat our customers. And so with that, I'm going to stop the share. I'm going to thank all of you for being here today. Thank you for your incredible participation. I hope you found this helpful. We will follow up with some things. I'll follow up so you can see the video we did for Otterbein. I'll follow up if you want to make an appointment to just chat with me. Not a like sales pitch or anything, but if you just like want to chat and get some ideas around your own orientation, I'll send you a calendar link so you can just make that appointment. And then of course we'll send you information about the Red Carpet Culture Club should you feel like that might be a fit for you. We would love to have you and your entire team as members. So thank you everyone. Thank you so much. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.